All right, thank you once again for joining us on the bright side. I want to review this concept that we talked about at the end of the program yesterday of activation and reactivation of toxic chemicals by gut bacteria. We addressed it at the end of the last program, but it's very important. It was a little confusing, so in the interest of clarification, I want to revisit the subject for just a couple minutes, and then we'll move on to our next important subject when it comes to protein, and that is blood proteins, and the very, very, very important blood protein that is a major indicator, a major marker of health and longevity and mortality and morbidity, that is disease. And this is very important blood protein that you don't hear a lot about. We'll cover that as soon as we finish talking about activation and reactivation of chemicals by gut bacteria, by the microbiome that we've been spending so much time talking about. All right, so you got 100 trillion or so bacteria in the gut. That's a lot of bacteria. They come in 500 or so different varieties or species. And while these little bacteria, these little critters are important for helping us digest food, and they make digestive supporting enzymes, they make vitamins, sometimes if these various types of bacteria, these species are out of balance, the food dissolving enzymes that these bacteria make that should be in our health interest, these food dissolving enzymes can actually cause problems. That's because in addition to digestive enzymes, bacteria can produce enzymes that can reactivate poisons that have already been handled by the body. They can reactivate poisons that have already been detoxified. In other words, these bacterial enzymes that are produced by the wrong kinds of bacteria in the gut can actually be a source of poisons. For example, one of the ways that the body protects itself from toxins is by magnetically attaching a detoxification molecule to the poisons. This process is technically called conjugation, but I just think of it like a refrigerator magnet being stuck onto a poison, which renders it harmless. Just picture a refrigerator magnet kind of thing in your mind's eye, and picture this refrigerator magnet being stuck onto a poison, rendering that poison harmless, rendering that poison non-poisonous, detoxifying that poison in essence. So we'll eat some kind of toxin. Let's say we eat a food dye, which can act as a toxin. That food dye toxin will go through the digestive system. It'll go through the intestine, and from the intestine it will get absorbed into the blood. And then from the blood, it'll make its way to the liver. All food that comes into the blood through the intestine has to go to the liver first before it can proceed to the rest of the body. The liver is like a filtering mechanism to prevent stuff that gets into the blood through the intestine from getting into the body proper. Now, of course, this doesn't always work as effectively as it should, but that's for another day. For now, I just want to make the point that you eat a food dye, it goes through your digestive system, it goes through your intestine, and from the intestine it goes into the blood, and then from the blood it goes into the liver, where it is going to be conjugated or purified, or a refrigerator magnet will be stuck onto this poison food dye. From there, what's supposed to happen is this refrigerator magnet food dye combination is now going to get dumped into the body's most important poison elimination substance. Now, this poison elimination substance is something we very rarely talk about. At least we don't talk about it enough. On the bright side, we do mention it more than you'll hear on other nutrition or health shows. But we still don't talk about it enough. This is a poison elimination substance that we refer to oftentimes as a digestive substance. We talk about it as a substance that helps us process fats and helps us extract fatty substances and minerals and essential fatty acids and plant nutrients from vegetables. We talk about it as a digestive substance, but we hardly ever emphasize the importance of this stuff for poison elimination. So after our refrigerator magnet has been stuck onto this poison dye, if we're dealing with a dye, it could be any kind of poison really, but say we're dealing with a poison dye, the liver will attach a refrigerator magnet onto the dye in this conjugation process, and now this complex, this refrigerator magnet dye complex, will get dumped into this poison control liquid, if you will, poison control substance. I'm talking about bile. Yes, bile. That is really bile's, well, I don't say it's the main role for bile, but it's certainly one of the main roles for bile is to eliminate poisons. The same bile that is produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder and helps us digest our food, the same bile is responsible for helping clear poisons out of the liver after those poisons have been conjugated, after that refrigerator magnet has been stuck onto the poisons. That makes bile really, really important. That's one of the reasons why we talk about it so much on this program, even though we don't really emphasize it as a poison control substance. Anyway, after our food dye has been detoxified by the liver, and after that little molecule has been stuck to a refrigerator magnet, now it's detoxified, and now it gets dumped into the bile. And what's supposed to happen there is now that bile refrigerator magnet food dye complex is going to get excreted from the body. This is called the bile elimination route. And it is very, very important for the elimination of poisons. However, if we got the wrong kind of bacteria in our intestines, this can mess things up. If we have the wrong balance of bacteria, if we have too much bad bacteria in the intestine, this can really be a problem, because these bad bacteria can produce enzymes that can rip off that refrigerator magnet. They can rip off that detoxification magnet substance that's been attached to our food dye, thereby reactivating the poison, reactivating the food dye. And now, from our intestine, our newly reactivated molecule that's had the refrigerator magnets ripped off of it can get into the blood, and there it can get into the general circulation because there's no liver to filter it. And that's a big problem. And it doesn't just happen with food dyes. It can happen with a lot of things. In fact, one of the most important of these reactivated substances is a hormone that people will actually take as a prescription drug. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Our number today, 855-660-4261. Got more good health information coming at you right after this. Don't go away. All right, we got a couple of lines open for you. Try to get on board early so we can get to as many calls as we can at 855-660-4261. We're talking about conjugation and what bad bacteria can do to mess up already detoxified substances. I think of conjugation as like a magnetic attachment, a refrigerator magnet being attached to toxic substances, thereby rendering them detoxified. But as these substances get into the intestine where they're supposed to be dumped out, sometimes if you have the wrong kind of bacteria or not enough of the good bacteria, these bad bacteria can actually rip off that refrigerator magnet, thereby re-toxifying already processed toxins. And this can be a big problem. It's a big problem with food toxins, and it's a big problem with the hormone estrogen. Estrogen is a big, big issue. You know, estrogen is a stress hormone. It's associated with blood clots. It's associated with heart disease. It's associated with stress. It's associated with hot flashes. It's associated with a lot of problems. And it's not just the estrogen that's made in our bodies that gets detoxified. It's drug estrogens, too. And it's xenoestrogens that are found in soy and beans and other plants and herbs. And the same is true for xenoestrogens like plastics and bisphenol A and pesticide chemicals. All of these get detoxified by the body in this refrigerator magnet kind of fashion. But if you got the wrong kind of bacteria or not enough good bacteria in your gut, that refrigerator magnet can get ripped off the bisphenol A or ripped off the pesticide or ripped off the xenoestrogen, and now you have a retoxified bisphenol A molecule, a retoxified pesticide molecule, a retoxified estrogen from your birth control molecule. We ingest something like bisphenol A from plastic wrap. And by the way, you never want to heat your plastic wrap in a microwave because that can release bisphenol A into foods. Same with plastic bottles. You never want to keep your plastic bottles in your car, for example, where heat from your car or heat from the sun can release some of that bisphenol A into the water. But if you ingest your bisphenol A, say from plastic wrap or a plastic bottle, or maybe some glyphosate from Monsanto's Roundup, both of these are very powerful xenoestrogens. As with our food dye, the xenoestrogenic substance can now enter into our intestine and travel to the liver where it's detoxified. And then in the same fashion as our little food dye, that little piece of substance will get a refrigerator magnet attached to it, rendering it detox, harmless in essence. And by the way, that molecule that is magnetically attached to the estrogen or the xenoestrogen is the refrigerator magnet molecule is called a glucuronate. That's very important to know because there's a nutritional supplement that you can use that's actually a refrigerator magnet. It's actually a glucarate. You can actually take refrigerator magnets, calling them refrigerator magnets, as a supplement. This process is called glucuronidation, this refrigerator magnet process that we're talking about. Anyway, this refrigerator magnet, this glucuronate molecule, this glucuronidated refrigerator magnet molecule gets dumped into the bile. From there, what should happen is the bile will get eliminated in your stool, and one more toxin bites the dust. But unfortunately, bad bacteria in the gut make an enzyme called glucuronidase. Remember, ACE means enzyme, and glucuronidase is an enzyme that rips off refrigerator magnets. This is really important because you can test your stool for glucuronidase, and that can tell you how much of this refrigerator magnet ripping off enzyme your body's making. And this can be an indicator of some kind of toxification that's going on in the body. It's especially important if you're dealing with fibromyalgia, fibroses, infertility, uterine cysts, ovarian cysts, breast cysts, endometriosis, PMS, even cancer can be associated with this refrigerator magnet ripping off enzyme, this glucuronidase enzyme. If you're concerned, if you have any of these issues, ovarian cysts or endometriosis or PMS or breast cancer, God forbid, infertility, if you have any of these issues, you may be producing a lot of this enzyme. You may have the wrong kind of bacterial balance in your gut, and you may be making a lot of refrigerator magnet ripping off enzyme, glucuronidase, and you can have a stool test done where these enzymes will show up. High levels of glucuronidase, refrigerator magnet ripping off enzyme in the stool, high levels of glucuronidase are typical of a lot of retoxification activity going on, and it's definitely something you want to know about if you have any of the aforementioned symptoms, infertility or cysts or endometriosis or fibromyalgia, fibroids. Any of these kinds of symptoms can be an indicator that you got the wrong kind of bacteria in the gut and you're making a lot of glucuronidase refrigerator magnet ripping off enzymes. E. coli, by the way, is notorious for producing this glucuronidase enzyme. And that means if you're dealing with any of these kinds of health issues, you want to be using your nightly essence. You want to be making sure you're eating fermented foods, kimchi, natto, miso, fermented beets, tempeh. All of these are great sources of probiotic bacteria that can counter the effects of refrigerator magnet ripping off enzymes. Refrigerator magnet ripping off enzymes, glucuronidase enzymes. One of the best fermented foods, which is actually a beverage, is kombucha tea. Kombucha tea is made from something called the kombucha mushroom or the kombucha fungus, which grows on tea leaves. Kombucha tea is not only a source of good bacteria, but it can also provide refrigerator magnets, glucuronates, those refrigerator magnets that get stuck onto toxins. You can actually get refrigerator magnets in your kombucha tea. And these refrigerator magnets can be used for the initial detoxification process in the liver. This is one of the reasons why kombucha and kombucha tea has such a great reputation for supporting the immune system. They're loaded with refrigerator magnets. Kombucha has anti-cancer properties. Kombucha can reduce inflammation. It can prevent cardiovascular disease. And you can make your own kombucha tea, and you can get your own refrigerator magnets. You can make your own refrigerator magnets and drink it all day long, loading up your liver with this wonderful detox substance, glucuronate. If you want to make some kombucha tea, just boil some tea leaves for 10, 15 minutes or so. Add a little bit of sugar. You need to have sugar for the fermentation process. Add a little bit of vinegar because you need to have some acid in there too. Acetic acid and vinegar works. You can put some lemon juice or lime juice. That's not quite as acidy, but that'll work too. And then you put some kombucha starter fungus on the surface of the tea. You can get that on the internet. Cover it up, let it incubate, ferment for anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks. And over time, you're going to get this mushroom-like solid on the top of your tea. And I'll finish this up when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side. We'll finish up with our kombucha tea recipe, and then take your phone calls as well when we come back from our break.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
On the bright side, got a couple lines open for you at 855-660-4261. I just want to finish talking about a couple more things about kombucha, which I love, by the way. It's a great source of probiotic bacteria, and it's a great source of refrigerator magnets or glucurates. These little refrigerator magnets that get attached to poisons, conjugated or joined to poisons, and that allows them to be eliminated from the body in a non-toxic fashion. So anyway, if you want to make your own kombucha tea, you get some tea leaves, you boil them for 10 or 15 minutes or so, and then add a little vinegar, add a little sugar, and then sprinkle on some kombucha starter fungus. You can get that off the internet. You get it off of Amazon.com. Just Google kombucha starter. And you sprinkle it on top of your tea and cover your tea up and let the stuff ferment and incubate for anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks. And then you're going to get this solid kind of mushroom thing. It looks like a mushroom that will form on top of the tea. That's called your daughter fungus, and it can be used to make more kombucha tea later on. You drain out your kombucha tea, and it's yummy and delicious. It's kind of tart and acidy. Kind of tastes like the vinegar a little bit. It's sort of a mild vinegar. Some people say you get a little buzz from their kombucha tea, but certainly they'll get good probiotics, and they'll also get this glucuronate, this refrigerator magnet stuff that can improve liver detoxification. Even if you don't get a buzz, you're definitely going to be improving detox abilities, because this stuff is loaded with refrigerator magnets as well as probiotics. And it's not just going to detoxify estrogen. You could detoxify nitrates in hot dogs with kombucha tea. You can detox nitrates in all preserved meats. These nitrates are prone to conversion into cancer-causing substances by gut bacteria that can rip off refrigerator magnets off the nitrates that have been detoxified. And then there's a supplement you can get called calcium D-glucarate. That's just straight refrigerator magnet plus calcium. Calcium D-glucarate not only provides you with this refrigerator magnet substance, but you can also get calcium that's in an easy-to-absorb format. So if you take your calcium D-glucarate supplement, you can buy that at the health food store, you'll be supporting your liver, you'll be preventing this retoxification process, and also you'll be getting an essential mineral. And you don't need a supplement to get calcium D-glucarate. You can get that in broccoli and Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cruciferous vegetables in general. We'll get you some calcium D-glucarate. There's some in apples, and there's some in grapefruit as well. For women dealing with any kind of female health issue, including female cancers, calcium D-glucarate is something that you pretty much want to think about. In fact, I would consider it to be a must-have nutritional supplement for all estrogenic health issues, and it's readily available. It's cheap. In addition to being found in cruciferous vegetables and apples and grapefruits, you can get calcium D-glucarate supplements pretty much at any health food store on the internet, and you probably want to be taking around 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day. Calcium D-glucarate can be protective against lung cancer. It can be important for any kind of detoxification, and if you're doing a high-protein diet or you're eating lots of protein, calcium D-glucarate can support protein metabolism, especially if you're dealing with any kind of digestive or liver health issues that can produce some ammonia from high protein. If you have liver health issues or gut bacteria issues and you're eating a lot of protein, sometimes ammonia can build up. Calcium D-glucarate can help protect against excess ammonia. And calcium D-glucarate can also lower your cholesterol levels for you guys who are interested in lowering your cholesterol levels. It's non-toxic, it's non-allergenic, and also for salicylate poisoning. Some people have salicylate allergies or salicylate sensitivity. Calcium D-glucarate can be protective against salicylates. Start slowly if you're going to supplement with calcium D-glucarate, because you're going to be detoxifying and removing substances out of your body, especially estrogen, and you don't want to be messing around with your estrogen too quickly. It's never a good idea to have your estrogen levels change too rapidly. All right, that was a lot of stuff on enzymes and bacteria and detoxification. All of this has to do with the relevance of protein, and there's so much more to talk about. But I think we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it right there, and then on our next Bright Side episode, we're going to start to talk about blood proteins, and especially one very important blood protein that is associated with mortality. Low levels of this protein are associated with mortality, early demise, as well as morbidity and degenerative disease. We'll talk about that on our next Bright Side episode, so you're going to want to tune into that. Time to hit our phones at 855-660-4261. Let's go to Indiana and welcome Arlen to the Bright Side. What is up, Arlen?
Yeah, Ben, I love your show.
Thank you so much.
You do.
Thank you. What's going on?
Just had a question on, you wanted your opinion on LDN.
On LDN, licensed dietitians. Is that what it is? Licensed dietitian? Yeah?
Low-dose naltrexone.
Oh, low-dose naltrexone. Okay, I was close. LDN, are you talking about for autoimmunity and for pain and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Here's the problem with LDN the way I see it, and it can be helpful, and a lot of folks get good results. I know we had Julia Shopik on, and she's a good friend, and I like her work, and she's a big proponent of LDN. I'm always looking at the cause of things, at finding the causes. Yeah, LDN and pain management, those are important. Obviously, if you're suffering and you're in agony, you're going to want to do something to get rid of the pain. But I'm concerned that when people use substances like LDN, that they avoid addressing the causes of inflammation, the causes of an active immune system, the causes of pain itself. So while LDN can be helpful, and I'm not going to cast aspersions on something that's helpful to people and helps reduce pain and maybe even inflammation, in my opinion, it's a much wiser strategy to look at what the heck is causing the autoimmune problem in the first place. I assume you're referring to autoimmunity, is that right? For an autoimmune issue?
Either cancer or MS.
Yeah. You know, cancer is a little bit different because that's life-threatening, and see, that's a little bit different. And once a cell has turned cancerous, it's a little bit trickier to kind of get it to reverse. Although some people do, reversals and remissions do occur. So obviously, the body is capable of achieving remissions and reversals. But I'm not going to talk too much about cancer, but for MS and autoimmune diseases, multiple sclerosis is an example of an autoimmune disease. It's so much better to figure out what the heck is causing the autoimmune problem. For example, autoimmunity is caused by a hyperactive immune system. A hyperactive immune system is caused in turn by something getting into the body that activates the defenses. So if you take your LDN, but you're still eating your gluten or your allergen or you're doing whatever you're doing that's exacerbating your immunity, your LDN is not going to reverse that. LDN, low-dose naltrexone, is not going to affect the hyperactive immune system. It may take care of the pain, but you're still going to be abusing your body. You're still going to be ingesting the corn and the gluten and the bread and the pasta or whatever it is that's causing the problem, and your body's still going to be breaking down. And the LDN isn't going to do a thing about it. And this is the real issue that I have with these kinds of remedies and these kinds of treatments. They don't address the cause. They allow you to ignore the pain. You don't feel the pain now. And so now you're just perpetuating the problem and making the problem worse and ultimately shortening your life and leading to an early demise. So in my opinion, yeah, if you got miserable pain, I'm not going to be one to say you don't want to use some kind of pain reliever, which is what LDN is, but it really does make a heck of a lot more sense to try to figure out what the problem is. You know, autoimmune diseases can be reversed. This is just, if you understand the mechanism of an autoimmune disease, you know that as soon as you quiet the immune system down, the autoimmune disease will go away. Now, this is not it should not be a hard concept for anybody to understand. Autoimmunity is caused by something. It's caused by something that's triggering the immune system. Reduce or eliminate or get the cause out, and the autoimmune disease or the autoimmune symptomology will reverse on its own. So use the LDN if you're absolutely miserable and you need pain relief, but while you're using your LDN, try to figure out the cause of your immune health issue, whatever that may be. All right, I hope I helped you out. Arlen, thanks so much for your call. Appreciate it. We're coming back right after this. Don't go away. Back on the bright side, Scott in Georgia. Welcome. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Ben. This is Scott.
Hey, good morning.
Listen, I've been trying to get in touch with you. My fiance is suffering from bipolar disorder.
Okay,
and,
got it. You want some help?
She's on Gizon and Lamictal. I don't know if you're familiar with those medications.
Yes, sure am. Sure am. Here's the deal with bipolar disorder. Let's talk about it from two different aspects. First of all, and I've been dealing with bipolar disorder since the 80s, actually. They didn't even know what it was. They used to call it manic depressive disorder back then. Yeah. And now it's called bipolar disorder. Basically, you go up and you go down. You get manic and you get depressive. And by the way, when bipolar folks are manic, they are a lot of fun. Not so much fun when they're depressed, though. I remember the first guy... Did I describe that accurately?
Absolutely.
You can fall in love with somebody when they're manic, but then they get depressed. I remember the first time I experienced that, somebody who had manic depressive disorders, which is what they called it back then, I was like, this guy is a lot of fun. But then a couple of days later, he was really depressed, and he said, I have a manic depressive disorder. That was the first time I'd ever heard of it. Any case, most folks who have bipolar or manic depressive disorder, whatever you want to call it, are usually dealing with some kind of emotional health issue. In my experience, this is just my opinion, and it's based on observing a lot of folks with bipolar issues. It's a way of avoiding feeling pain. This is a common strategy that we all human beings have, is we avoid feeling pain by being up and by being down. Believe it or not, when you're really, really depressed, that's kind of a way of avoiding feeling whatever is causing that real pain. We're depressed, we're not really focusing on the fundamental issues or fundamental pain-causing issues, and the same is obviously true when we're manic. So I'm not going to get into that too much, but I just want to point that out because I'm always very cautious about just saying take this vitamin or that vitamin or use this nutrient or that nutrient or this food or that food in order to take care of an emotional, mental, or mental health issue. So I just want to put that in. We'll just set that aside because there are some strategies, nutritional and nutritional supplemental strategies that you can use, but until you address the emotional and mental components, you're still going to more than likely have a bipolar problem. That having been said, when you think about bipolar, you want to think about electrical instability in the brain, specifically electrical instability in brain cells. And the nutrients that are used to treat bipolar issues are nutrients and medications, actually, in the case of lithium, that help stabilize electrical energy, specifically electrical energy in neurons or brain cells. So first and foremost is lithium. That is the most electrically stabilizing of all the bipolar nutritional supplements. I would be using lithium orotate or lithium aspartate. And I take lithium aspartate every couple of days anyway, and I don't have any bipolar issues. It's just a nice supplement. Lithium is a really cool supplement. It's a good supplement.
How many milligrams?
5 to 10 milligrams. 5 to 10. 10 may make her a little drowsy. If she can do 10, that would be great, but that might make her a little drowsy. It'll help her sleep, too. For anybody who's interested in, who has insomnia or problems sleeping or just wants to get a good night's sleep, a little lithium before you go to bed, 5 to 10 milligrams before you go to bed, can be very relaxing. Niacin, vitamin B3 can be helpful for bipolar health issues. Niacin is a very important brain chemical, a brain nutrient. You get niacin in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. If you want to do straight niacin, you might want to do timed release niacin or have your girlfriend do timed release niacin. Around 100 milligrams a day. Whenever you take niacin, as with all the B complex, whenever you take any individual B vitamins, you want to take the entire complex with it. Have her take her niacin, her time-release niacin with Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Magnesium is another very important brain nutrient, can have nice stabilizing effects. Around 1,000 milligrams of magnesium a day is a good place to be. And then keeping her blood sugar stable. That's probably the most important of the non-supplemental strategies for bipolar health issues. Making sure she's using more protein, especially protein like whey protein that has these branched chain amino acids in it, or egg protein as well, and meat protein if she's a meat eater, or fish protein. Fish protein is good too, seafood protein. And then wean herself off of foods that spike her blood sugar. Also using nutrients that stabilize the blood sugar can be helpful, in addition to the lithium and the niacin and magnesium. Using thiamine, vitamin B1 can have a stabilizing effect on blood sugar. Chromium and vanadium in the Longevity Sweeties can have a nice stabilizing effect on blood sugar. Let's see, taurine, the amino acid taurine, alpha lipoic acid, both of those can stabilize blood sugar. Choline can stabilize blood sugar. Don't forget about zinc and vitamin A. Both are very important for brain health and also for stabilizing blood sugar. Around 20,000 international units a day of vitamin A. Probably 50 milligrams of zinc picolinate would be a good idea. And then if she has any kind of digestive health issues, and that can cause problems with gut bacteria, and the brain are intimately connected. There's poisons, as we've been talking about. Gut bacteria can secrete poisons or can retoxify already detoxified substances, and that can also have effects on the brain. So getting on a good probiotic supplement and using digestive enzymes like the Ultimate Enzymes and the Nightly Essence from Longevity, those are two other things that you might want to do. So number one, focus on emotional and mental health issues. That's probably the most important thing you could do. Number two, use lithium. And number three, stabilize the blood sugar and keep everything, keep the nutrients in the blood at a nice even level. You don't want things going up and things going down. Refined carbohydrates, refined sugars, desserts, and all those kinds of foods that spike your blood sugar, those can wreak havoc on a bipolar predisposed brain. So keeping your blood sugar stable using protein and all those supplements for stabilizing and processing processing sugar can be helpful too. Does that help, Scotty?
Yeah, absolutely. I got one more question for you.
Sure.
As far as the medication, she's wanting to go completely holistic. And how would you recommend
The medicines don't help. The medicines do not help. The medicines are only going to make matters worse. At best, they will numb her out. And unless she enjoys being numb, which I doubt she does, there's no need for those medicines. There are, I've said this so many times, and I've been studying drugs for 30 years. There's no need for any drugs with the exception of antibiotics, pain pills, and occasionally chemotherapy. Now, if you're absolutely miserable, maybe use a drug until you can stabilize things. But as far as brain health and mental health drugs, antidepressants, drugs for bipolar disorders, they do not do you any good. They will only mess up your body's detox system and cause more problems than anything than give you any benefits. So personally, I'd be staying away from any prescription drugs. The lithium orotate is that you get at the health food store, you get off the internet as a supplement. That should be as drug-like a substance that you put in your body, and it's plenty drug-like. That's actually what they give you. They give you lithium for bipolar disorder, the same lithium that you could get as a nutritional supplement. I wouldn't be using the drugs.
So it works as a mood stabilizer? Is that what it does?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Great.
And also, last but not least, I talked about the B vitamins for sugar, but the B vitamins are also your brain and mood vitamins, too. Oh, yeah, essential fatty acids can also have a nice stabilizing effect on the brain, too. I forgot about that. Get her on the ultimate EFAs from Longevity. Thanks so much, Scott. Got to move on. Appreciate your call. Let's see if we get one more in. Mike in North Dakota, welcome to the bright side. What's going on?
How you doing, Mr. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs? God bless you and everybody on GCN, as well as protect you the best need be.
Thank you. What's going on today, buddy?
Just a silly question on the nascent iodine. How do I ascertain and effective dosing for myself?
It's hard to say.
Anybody?
Yeah, it's hard to say because nascent iodine is not like Lugol's or iodoral in the sense that it's much more readily absorbed and it's easier for the body to handle. So technically, I think there's 400 micrograms per drop in the nascent iodine. So if you wanted to do what they call the Japanese dose, which is 12 milligrams or so, you're looking at around 30 drops. But I don't think you need that much, and you probably just want to go by your mood and by your if you have thyroid problems, by thyroid benefits. It's really hard to say. Personally, I would be doing anywhere from 5 to 10 drops a day and leaving it at that. But you can't really overdose on it. If you wanted to do more, it wouldn't really hurt you to do more. But at least you want to do anywhere from 5 to 10 drops. We're going to have Dr. Edward Group on the program here in the next week or two. Dr. Group is the guy who's making nascent iodine real popular, and he's also quite a brilliant healer and healthcare professional. He's going to have a lot to say. So tune into the bright side here. I think we have him on the third week of November. I think we booked him for it. We'll be talking a lot about nascent iodine. I use it myself. I think it's a great way to get iodine into your system. I also use a little bit of iodoral anyway. Make sure you're getting seafood. Iodine is just a very, very effective and very important nutritional supplement that you used to not hear a lot about, although you're hearing more and more about it. In fact, it very well may be the next omega-3 or the next vitamin D in the sense that you're going to start to be reading more about it in the mainstream press. So it's hard to say exactly how much to do, but I personally do 5 to 10 drops a day, anywhere from 5 to 10 drops, but you can do more if you like. And if you have cysts, you may want to do more. Iodine is very effective for fibrocystic breasts or cystic breasts or ovarian cysts, female reproductive health issues in general. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all your letters and Facebooks, all the love. Thank you so much. We're going to continue talking about protein on our next Bright Side episode. We'll talk about blood protein specifically. We'll tell you about a blood protein that is a very important indicator of long-term health as well as mortality. We'll do that on our next episode. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.